My name is Alita Kumar. I'm also in grade 9 and I also go to MTS.
Hi, my name is Anu and I'm from London Central Secondary School and I'm in grade 11. So our theme for our topic is math in the modern day, right? Essentially, our thing is a gravity perceptron, where we were inspired by this due to AI, because AI is just rapidly evolving and it's striking fear into people's hearts. But we had a different outlook on it. We had an outlook of curiosity because we saw the potential of it, how AI is improving systems and making it better. This is shown through if and else statements while in coding, where everything is weighted equally. But with AI, through developing the neural network specifically, we can have, instead of making everything equally, we can make everything have a different percentage of importance, because this is really relevant in specific scenarios like the financial industry. And that is very important.
Yeah, so how did we come up with this idea? You should be wondering that, right? It was all because of Geoffrey Hinton. He is like a famous Canadian computer scientist and a mathematician, and he was the one who advanced the neural network algorithm that we are basically presenting here. And that is like the foundation for AI, the modern technology of today, as Anirudh said, right? So basically his principle was, the foundation principle of AI was that machines intelligently make decisions based on the weight and the input and the comparison of the bias, and that is how it all started.
So firstly, our model, it has 3 inputs, so we have 3 factors, where one is, like we're doing a financial scenario, where one is just like how much money is being spent, so like $3,000. And then the second one will be the location. Where is it being spent at? Like a gas station. And the last one would be how frequent it is. And we can adjust the importance through our sliders. We already pre-adjusted this for this specific scenario. So Loita, please input the first part as $3,000 being spent at a gas station. Yeah, at a gas station, and then the last condition would be that it has like how many transactions? The last transaction.
Sorry, what was the last condition?
The last transaction was 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, and now, though, our condition said yes, it is fraudulent behavior because $3,000 at a gas station is an extremely high cost, so we decided that. Now,
Okay, so this is our math formula that we created for our artifact. So to start off with, the X here is going to be representing the input. Basically in AI it would be words or numbers, but in our artifact we have, since it's physical, we have marbles here. And then the weight adjuster are like sliders here. It's not in the formula. And basically that's what Anirudh said, how important is each info. And they have a range of values from 0 to 1. 0 being it's fully closed and no marble can go through. And 1 being fully open, 100% can go through. But let's say the value is around 0.5. That's half, right? So that means the sliders would be half open. And then the input, half of it would go through, but half of it would get cut. So because it's half important and not as the other. And then the W here would be the width of the funnel here. And then the X that's multiplying together is the amount of marbles that input is going through. So W times X would equal the marbles going through the funnel from the top from the funnels to the tubes to the summation bucket. And then the summation bucket finally comes up with this sigma here, which is sigma in the equation. And basically what it does is it adds all the inputs together and compares it to the bias here. So in our scenario that Anirudh explained, we have it as around 50 grams of counterweight for our scenario, but it can be changed based off of the scenario. And the bias here we have weighted it down. Then the micro limit switch is the active recall function, where what it does is basically if this input is outweighing the bias, it hits the micro limit switch and it goes to the code and it says yes, so that means that it is a fraud transaction. But then let's say the inputs are not coming to outweigh the bias, then the output would come as no, because the micro limit switch would recognize that there is no weight going off of it, so that means the output would be no. And that's what the Y here represents. The output is equal to
yes.
Yeah.
All right. To conclude, AI isn't just a black box magic. It's a blend between math, physics, and creative logic. To make this, we used Geoffrey Hinton's idea of weighted connections to operate. Our goal was to make the invisible visible by using weights, tubes, funnels, and marbles to convey the core idea of modern mathematics and AI. AI doesn't need to be confusing or scary. Instead, we need to learn to understand it, and that way we can use it to build and create a much more modern, smarter, more transparent world. That's how we can apply modern mathematics in the digital world. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Any questions? Okay, yes, it will be.
You guys mentioned he is scenario based, right?
Yes, it is scenario based, basically.
This is for
This is for our finance one, basically fraud detection.
That's what we use as our real world example, but it can be used for multiple factors.
Yes, it can be used for many scenarios for considering multiple ones. And you can also increase the amount of conditions. We just did 3 to make it a bit more simpler.
You guys did fraud detection in a gas station, right?
Yeah, I
What
guess.
if it was like fraud detection like a bank? Would that change that way?
Yeah, you can also
Yeah.
change the weight as well. So you can there completely the amount of added classes as well. So it's
Awesome. Yeah. Presentation of this. I know you were saying that it was Jeffrey who inspired you to do this, but this specific presentation, did you see it somewhere else?
So Geoffrey Hinton, he basically was one of the pioneers in developing the neural network. So we were really inspired by it, and we wanted to develop our own, which is this is just a singular neuron in a huge neural network. So we just wanted to represent that in our own way.
So this is just how one of the parts, small part of neural network works behind the whole deep network behind the AI.
Perfect. No, is there any of you guys that came up with this exact like formation, like the putting it up here? Like it's very nice. I really like it.
So if you look at our poster here, this was the original design.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
But we decided to make it taller and slimmer instead of wider and like shorter. That way we could fit more and get like more across.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We just changed basically the design because a lot of the marbles once they fell in here they kept on bouncing out. So we had to find
That's
out.
why we had to use the funnels instead of the gears. That would make it more efficient.
Okay, beautiful. Awesome.
So could you explain how you do the weights?
The weight.
Yeah, for each input.
Each input, the sliders back here, basically, it's clear here. So if you see, there's a hole inside it. You can come see it.
Okay.
There's a hole inside it. And then the sliders would like close it or open it. As I said, the range of values from 0 to 1. And that's how you
and we did a similar amount of weights for each one as well.
Yeah.
So if you close it half, then you half the number.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
half of it would
Yeah.
get cut. Maybe like 2 would go through it,
Okay.
and 5 would go through something.
Exactly.
What if you guys used heavier balls?
That's why we made sure to use 1 gram exactly, so
Yeah.
it works out perfect.
Yeah.
for us.
But if we did use heavier balls, we would have to increase the counterweight.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
would
Which
would
would
like
change the whole scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Because our counterweight is our bias, so if it goes over that threshold, then it would be considered yes, it is to whatever scenario.
So when we do AI, we do back propagation and change
Yeah,
the weights,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
So how would you guys encode that into your model?
Basically, we didn't do back propagation because we didn't have sufficient amount of like code to say that yes, AI goes back and learns it, because then we would have to make the whole thing automated. But we wanted to show you as a physical model of how each neuron simply works. So that's why we made it instead of using back propagation into it.
And what are you using for the electronics in there?
We use C++ to code it, and we connect it to an Arduino chip as well,
Yeah.
so we can do it. And then once it hits this
Micro-
micro switch, it'll give a signal to the Arduino one, where the orange light, and then it'll go to here and say yes. Essentially, that's how our model works.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Okay, did you guys, is this an original model or were you inspired by any other physical?
We were inspired by the neuron, basically, a neuron in a neural network. But this is our own model. We didn't use anything for reference. We made this from scratch, basically.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That's awesome. Okay. Just gonna look at this.
Alright.
Okay.
So did you mention the B to be the bias?
Yeah.
Yes, the bias. That's what it's being weighed against, basically. So yeah.